Welcome to the Next Up podcast. For this episode, I traveled to DeSoto County in Mississippi to visit with Alex Hallmark, their Director of Child Nutrition. Throughout the conversation, we discussed a wide range of topics relevant to school nutrition professionals, from menu planning to community engagement, as well as some good old Mississippi folklore having to deal with bread crusts and learning how to whistle. As an experienced school nutrition director, Alex shares her perspective on the importance of fostering a culture of collaboration and building a strong team. She also discusses her efforts to promote healthy eating habits among students and sourcing high-quality, locally grown foods. Join us as we explore the challenges and opportunities facing school nutrition professionals and ways you can stay ahead of the game. Welcome to the Next Up podcast. I am here in Mississippi. First time here. Been trying to get out here for years, and I have Alex from DeSoto. Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing great. So tell me a little bit about you.
About me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So I went to school. I started at Delta State University and ended up transferring to Ole Miss and changing my major to nutrition and dietetics, and finished my degree in 4.5 years.
Okay.
In nutrition, and then decided to go to nursing school.
So was it a 4-year program or is it a 4.5-year program?
It was a 4-year program.
And what happened?
Changing that degree in the middle of the
I know how
the
that
time,
goes.
you know. So decided to go to nursing school at that point in time instead of doing a dietetic internship.
Why'd you pick nursing school?
Job stability is what I thought at the time.
Yeah.
I have no family history of nursing. I had never had a passion for nursing. My husband, which was boyfriend at the time, joined the Marine Corps.
Oh, well,
And
please
so-
thank him for his service.
I will. And so I just kind of didn't know where my life was going at that point in time. And, you know, everybody has always talked about nursing and, you know, you could get a job anywhere. I'm very English, very bad at math, science. I excelled at a lot better. So going to nursing school wasn't frightening for me.
Yeah.
That wasn't frightening for me. So did that. And when I graduated during that 2-year period, got married, he was moved to North Carolina, and we got there and I could not get a job. And I was like, well, this has totally backfired on me. And it wasn't my true passion. So it really made me think hard about, you know, what I wanted to do. And
Do you have any idea why you couldn't get a job?
you know, the only thing that I didn't know anybody for
Yeah.
one. So I was just blindly putting applications in. I have a nursing license, but North Carolina was part of the compact. So I could technically practice in North Carolina without having a North Carolina license. But just being, I mean, you know, if you're looking at job applications and you're in a military town and you have somebody over here who's got a license from Mississippi and living in an apartment, like, versus somebody who they
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, you hate it, but I mean, I would choose the person that possibly couldn't be deployed, you know, whose family won't be deployed in the next or changed
true.
in the next few months, you know, by
Yeah.
the time you get through the training. So I got it. Plus I had no experience, you know, I was straight out of nursing school, no experience. And of course didn't know anybody. And a lot of times getting a job is about who you know. So I decided to move back home to Mississippi and try to get into a dietetic internship. So in that process, I applied to grad school, got in at Ole Miss, and ended up getting a scholarship
Nice.
and got a grad assistantship. So anyway,
So you got hooked up.
yes. So I was going to school, finish my master's for free, which my parents were really happy about. And during that time, was able to finish it while getting into a dietetic internship, and I got into Delta State's program. So finished, got half of my master's done, then left Ole Miss, went to Delta State, finished it, and during that time is when I interned at this school district. And Cynthia Coleman at that time was the director here, and I came here for 3 weeks and just fell in love.
It blew your mind. And I hear that all the time. I feel like when dietetic interns finally make it to a school district, it's like a whole different world to them. I mean, because dietetics in the hospital probably isn't that much fun. At least not as much fun as working in the school district, right?
No, it's not. And I think so. I did school food service before I did clinical in dietetics, but already having nursing, I knew what it looked like, you know. And so I basically did my whole food service rotation, all but 40 hours in school. So I did DeSoto County, I did Panola County, and I did Lafayette County. And so I got a real diverse, look at 3 different directors, how they did things, and really just fell in love with it.
All right. So I'm going to ask you to pause right there. Tell me one thing you learned from each director at each district, putting you on the spot, or something that you loved about the program.
Let's see. The first district I was in was Panola County, which is where I live. And she is really who taught me menu planning. She let me plan the menus. Like, she let me plan the menus, and she let me crash and burn at what kids liked. During that time, I was a very healthy eater. And when I say healthy, I mean like clean eating. And, you come in and you think like you want to portray that onto everybody else. And I'll never forget. So I don't eat a lot of meat. So, of course, I was like, I'm going to give a vegetarian type option. And I did like a bean taco. I mean, you go to the Mexican restaurant, people eat bean tacos. They eat refried beans. And we did a bean taco. It was a Mississippi recipe for success recipe. I didn't invent the recipe. And those kids were like, it was just bad.
They didn't want beans.
They just didn't even know what it is. And I have a whole, for when I got into this job, I have another whole recipe, disaster that I was like, what? Story for later. But so she really taught me menu planning. She really did, which, to be honest, is probably a huge reason of being chosen for this job, because I had such a huge understanding of the guidelines and our system at that time, NutriKids, the nutrient analysis software, and the recipes. So I kind of had a heads up on a lot of other candidates. And then I went to Oxford, and I got a lot of hands-on in kitchen experience. So his office is located in a school.
Oh, wow.
And so,
how big is that district? How many sites?
They've got, I don't know how many students they got. At the time, they only had 3 or 4 schools. They've built a new school since then, but it is just, it's Lafayette County, so it's just elementary, middle, high. And so that was totally different, because legit, we could be in his office and then we would walk out and we'd be in the cafeteria. And so I did a lot of hands-on working in the cafeteria, so I got that experience there. And then I came here, and I was with some University of Memphis dietetic interns as well. And we did both. We did some office, and we got to go out to the schools, but it was more of bouncing around to different schools. Cynthia really talked to us about layout and design, because she had built, this county had grown so much since she got here that she had built a lot of schools in her time here. And so she just went through different designs and her thoughts, and so I got that piece with her. And so I really got 3 different experiences with all of them, which was great for me. But while I was here, she had told all us interns that she was hiring an RD for next school year.
Game on.
Yep, game on. So that was October. I wasn't finishing my dietetic internship till April or May. Did clinical after Christmas, and I just stayed in contact with her. And anyway, ended up applying, interviewing, and, she took a gamble on me. And then after a year, she decided to step down as director, and I applied for the position, and they gave it to me. So,
well, congrats.
So I was very, very new. I had a lot to learn. I still do. Still tell everybody every day, I always learn something new every year.
How old were you when you got hired? Because you're pretty young.
I was actually older, for most. I was 29, 28.
Okay. I thought you were
28 when I was hired for the district. I was 29, about to turn 30 when I became director.
Oh, I thought you were 30 now.
No, I'll be 37 on Halloween.
37, man, you're getting up there.
Halloween, baby. I know. I'm like, oh gosh, I see 40.
That's right around the corner. 40 is next year for me.
So,
do you have any plans for your birthday? What are you going to do?
So our state conference is always around my birthday. So I think Halloween maybe falls on a Tuesday this year. And so I'll head to Biloxi on Wednesday for the Mississippi School Nutrition Association conference. So I usually get to celebrate with I trick-or-treat. We trick-or-treat in our neighborhood with my kids. That's kind of what the last 7 years of my birthday has been about. And then I always leave and go to conference and hang out with my child nutrition family and celebrate my birthday with all them. So,
all right. Well, how many kids do you have? And how old are they?
So I have 2 girls. One is 4, going on 16, and the other is 7. And we are on a new adventure this year. She is actually attending one of the DeSoto County schools this year, Hernando Hills, which is just 2 miles away from here. So it's been nice.
You guys in Mississippi have a lot of Florida names because I do a lot of work with Hernando County, Florida, and there's also a Lee County, Florida. So whenever I'm talking to you or Val,
there's a DeSoto
there's
County.
There's a DeSoto
yes.
too. Yeah, it's like they're copying Florida names.
Yeah. So I get emails all the time of things from either like Hernando County or DeSoto County.
Yep.
And I'll be like, this is Florida. I'm Mississippi.
Yeah. So, you have 2 kids, 2 girls, and you said you were getting ready to. Oh wait, you said one was like 4 on 16.
Going on 16.
Going on
yes.
16. Yeah. So, which one of the 2 kids is most like you?
My youngest.
So she's a troublemaker.
Yes. Yes. Doesn't meet a stranger. Energizer bunny. Just go, 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 go. Doesn't take no for an answer.
Just like mama.
So I always look at her, I'm like, I don't know where you get your stubbornness from. But then, while right now it is hard because, you want your kids to have respect, and it's hard to draw that line with a 4-year-old. But at the same time, too, I also know that I don't have to worry about her, that she'll always be able to take care of herself. So it's a lose now, win later situation. My oldest, she's more shy, but she is the sweetest, smartest, very, very intelligent. And when she warms up to you, she can really be really witty and funny. But, out of the 2, I don't have to worry about my youngest, making it in this world as far as emotionally.
She's good.
She's good. She's good. Nobody's going to push her around.
She has that grit. So what are you guys going to be for Halloween this year? Do you know? What do the kids want to do?
So they want to dress up. Have you ever heard of Descendants?
Yes, I have 3 kids, so I have heard of Descendants.
Well, I don't know. I have just 2 girls, so I don't know if it's boy-girl movie. I mean, it's very addicting. Like, we've been on this Descendants kick. Like, we've watched it a long time ago, and then for the past 2 weeks, like, we literally come home and watch 1, 2, 3. Where were we tonight? 2.
I've been
and
there.
I sit down and I just get sucked in, and I've seen it 100 times.
Luckily, my kids phased out Descendants probably about a year or 2 ago, but it went on for a while. It was Descendants back to back all day long. It's all they wanted to watch. I'm like, kids, there are other things that we could watch besides Descendants, but nope, they didn't care.
I know. And then I Googled it, and they said they were going to make a Descendants 4.
Oh, great. Here we go again.
When was it that Disney does all the announcing of their future movies, and Descendants 4 was one of them, so we'll see.
So who's going to be who?
So Ruth Sawyer my oldest is Ruth Sawyer. She wants to be Mal. And Livy is my youngest, and she is Evie. And then, of course, they want me to be, what's Mal's mom?
Maleficent. Maleficent, yeah.
And then they want my husband to be, what's the guy with the blue hair?
The buff one or the other one? The blue hair.
It's Mal's dad, but I don't really know. I don't really know who he is.
Oh, no. Isn't that Hades?
Yes.
Yeah, Hades.
Yes, that's his name.
Gosh.
Yep. So that's it. So I
How do
actually
I know these names? Proof that I've had to watch Descendants.
You watched it. So we actually were looking at costumes Sunday, trying to figure out. I was like, we need to go ahead and order this because Halloween will be here before you know it. And I'm also one of those September Labor Day rolls around, and then I put up Halloween stuff because November 1st I want Christmas up. So
Yep. So is Halloween your favorite holiday?
No, it's not.
Okay,
Chris,
I was wondering because you
Chris,
have a orangish cup, you're wearing orange earrings. I figured she either loves Halloween or she's just repping NxtGen colors.
yeah.
It's on your shirt too.
NxtGen. Yeah, I was matching the orange with my dress, and
Okay,
I had
all
this
right.
in white and royal and orange, and
Gotcha.
you know,
We'll just pretend that you were representing
I
NxtGen.
was.
Yeah.
Florida too.
Florida too. Yep. That's awesome. All right, so tell me about DeSoto. Tell me about your program. Like, what are your stats? How many schools do you have? All that stuff.
So when I first was hired with DeSoto County, we had 39 schools, 22 elementaries, 8 middles, 8 highs.
That's pretty big for Mississippi, right?
Yes. So it's the largest school district enrollment wise, but Jackson Public has more sites. I think they're in the 40s. So we're actually, since I've been here, we're going to add 2 schools. We added one 2 years ago, and then the new Hernando High.
Not in Florida.
Not in Florida, in
Hernando High
Mississippi,
there.
just 2 roads over. Will open up next fall.
That's exciting.
If everything goes accordingly. So Hernando will, kind of reshift as far as grades and stuff and gain an intermediate school name. So Hernando High will be the new building, but the new school name will be Hernando Intermediate.
Okay. So are you involved in any of the planning for the new school, like the cafeterias and the kitchens and all that? Do you get to dabble in that at all?
I do. So they used an existing floor plan, and it's one that I have 5 other kitchens like. So I was able to come in and be like, nope, don't want it like this, you know. And so we did that, and
they listened to you?
Well, we'll see. The last plans that I saw, but I probably haven't been part of a meeting in over a year.
I hear that could be quite difficult to, like, as a food service director, to give your input within certain districts when it comes to, building new spaces or remodeling.
It is. So the hard part is, if I stayed on top of it and demanded to be involved, it's not like that I couldn't be involved, but it's that I'm disconnected from it. And so it's kind of like, I think about it and it's like, oh, I need to tell them this. Like me and Paul, my maintenance man, were just talking the other day, and I was like, I wonder if it's too late to change something that I wanted to do in there. And he was like, well, the walls hadn't gone up yet, like with the interior walls. And I was like, I need to contact them and find out. Like, because golly, we met, I'm trying to think, a year and a half ago. I mean, you forget, things change, you have new experiences, you do new things, you learn new things, and it's just kind of like, golly, it's really hard.
Yeah, I forgot what happened yesterday.
Yeah. Well, and, since I've been in this district, standardizing things have been the biggest part. We try to, we're moving towards any new piece of equipment that we order the same brand, and put that throughout the district.
But you were able to pick the equipment for the new school?
Yes.
Okay.
So I spec'd everything, threw everything out that I didn't want.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like fun.
It is. No, I do like the purchasing. I would say that's my strong suit, is on the purchasing
Spending money?
side. Yeah, purchasing side, right up my alley. But I'm not good at design. And then I see all these awesome cafeterias, and I'm just like, golly, I just wish I could have the creative mind to think, okay, this is what I want the space to look like.
Yeah. Well, aren't there people you can work with to do stuff like that?
There are, but they, again, not brought into that process. So it's kind of like I got to get the school built, and then I can bring them in. And that really was a plan. So Lewisburg, we built a new Lewisburg middle. And so I did, of course, to the cafeteria tables. I wanted the space to be blank, that I could come back and do anything with. We did do kind of some architectural work in the ceiling with some scaffolding, but that's really it. And after getting those tables in there, it looks like such a clean space. It's kind of like, do I want to come back and do anything? And so I'm kind of making that same plan with Hernando, just going to kind of get the space in there, and then if I want to come back with the graphics and stuff. But like serving lines, stainless steel, just it doesn't need. I don't do frost tops. I don't do warm lights, because I think that the food needs to go back in the cooler and the warmer behind you. I don't think it needs to sit out on the serving line all day. So it's just like clean, flat top serving lines that just look real sleek. And so that's what I like. Timeless is what I call it. You go into these schools and you can tell things are dated, and I like the timeless look. I like colors that are timeless, So that's kind of what I move towards. I don't know if everybody else likes it or not.
Well, it's your district, and apparently everybody likes it because you're doing really well here.
Well, I try.
Yeah. So what's your participation like?
Our participation. So that's such a roller coaster with the past 3 years. We have pretty much stayed about 50% free and reduced. I would say between COVID, we were pushing 55. Last year, returning to full price meals, we were about at 51, I think, when the year ended. And last time I ran the report, we were at 50. So we've dropped a little bit since COVID. Participation, of course, when meals were free, we dropped 4,000 lunches when we went back to pay.
So do you think
year.
that all meals should be free for all kids?
Absolutely.
Why?
Well, they can't do anything without food in their system. I mean, what's the point of being in a classroom? What's the point of iPads and the iMacs and the sporting activities and the, everything that goes in with school if they aren't well fed? And, there's funding and there's money, coming from somewhere, and it's able to pay for those things for our students, but it's not able to pay for meals. There is so much burden that comes with meals, and it's not just on the family side. It's on child nutrition. We show up every day to do this job to feed children, yet we become collectors. We become looking at a child and being like, hey, baby, you need to bring money, or, you're going to hit your charge limit tomorrow. And then once they do hit their charge limit, unfortunately, if you keep feeding them the same meal, they're never going to pay their balance. And that's the sad part of it. That's that really fine line of walking with alternative meals and things like that. We tried that one year, and they just kept on eating. I mean, our alternative meal list was out the roof. And I was like, okay, well, that doesn't work. We can't do that. That's not even an alternative. It was the year that USDA made us put a charge policy out. And I was like, so we've got to figure out something. And so this year I just raised my charge limit so we have more time to collect the money. And since COVID, we've had a ton of donors come in and want to donate money and stuff that have helped with those negative balances. But it's just so hard, and that shouldn't be a burden. Nobody should show up to school and have to worry about that. They should just know if they want to come to the lunchroom, they can get a breakfast if breakfast is offered at their school, and they can get a lunch, and it doesn't matter if they left their lunch at home. No big deal. They can eat lunch in the cafeteria. They don't have to worry about it, and it really is a burden on students, unfortunately. And I mean, it's sad for parents that they put their kids in that situation, but that's just the world that we live in. And I don't think that, that should be something that they have to face on top of everything else. Agreed.
Do you do breakfast in the classroom?
So we did some breakfast before COVID. No. Of course, COVID, we did a lot of things we never thought we would ever do. Some schools will have their kids come through the line and take it back to the classroom, but I don't do any carts out in the hallways anymore. We just have so many issues with point of sale, like moving the point of sale around. And most schools, the kids can come through the cafeteria, pick up what they want, and then they can go to their classroom. And there's kind of no different than doing it out in the hallway. And we can ensure that we have a true point of sale, and we can also ensure that food safety, And that's my biggest concern when we move it, is just having to worry about keeping the food hot, keeping the milk cold. It just takes too much manpower to move the breakfast out away from the serving line out into the hallway. And we don't feed that many more students.
Gotcha. So let's talk about these point of sale issues that you're having, because I'm a nerd. I like IT stuff. So what are the challenges that you're having, and how could somebody out there provide you a solution?
So point of sale issues, well, the biggest point of sale issue is training. And that's just simply due to turnover. Any kind of software that you operate, you have to know how to operate. And the more you operate it, the better you get at it. So when you're having a lot of turnover, since, for the past 3 years that we've had, retraining people to cashier is the biggest hiccup. Middle and high is the hardest because those kids come through so fast, and they punch their number in and go. They don't wait for you to say, okay, got you. And so when you get to a child that either doesn't have money, or you can't charge, or they didn't punch their number in right, and you have to catch them, and it's what I tell everybody. Even if nobody was rushing you, you rush yourself in those situations, because it's they're wanting to get through, you're wanting to get through. We know they only have 20 minutes to eat. I do feel like if there was more time given for middle school and high schoolers to eat, that maybe you would probably have less point of sale issues, because people wouldn't feel as hurried, that kids could come through and actually take their time in picking up their lunch. They could take their time, and everything just wouldn't have to seem constant, and, that even though it may not be as stressful in that situation, anytime you're working at that high level of adrenaline, that's a stressor, and over time that just wears on people, and it wears on their mind. It wears on their work, values and ethics, and and so by the end of the year you really start to see it and take effect, and we're almost to the finish line, but that's really the biggest issue.
So it's more or less the training and not the actual hardware or software out there.
Yes. I mean, I think there's a lot of good. We're actually gonna move softwares next year.
Oh man, that's
so we may want to
reschedule
this for that question for next year, and I'll be like, point of sale.
Well, do you have someone here within your district office that's kind of that oversees training, or is that you too?
So my office is set up. So I have tech. So he kind of handles all the computers and the keypads and the manager's computers and the software.
And that's Tony, right?
That's Tony. And then I have 5 area supervisors. So I like to think of the 5 area supervisors as mini-me's. So if I was in a smaller school district, things that I would be doing if I was them, I would be playing their part. So the schools are divided up between them, and so they oversee those schools. Training over the last 3 years has become an issue because they're more or less acting as substitutes and having to fill in where we're either short-staffed or, somebody's out or something like that, versus being able to actually just go into a school and say, hey, this is what we're going to work on today. And because we're so short-staffed, the manager is really having to be more on the floor, which we call them team leaders in our district. But they're having to be more on the floor than being able to work on the side with the supervisor or get things done in their office that they need to get done. And so that also poses another, hurdle to training. Last year we did purchase everybody a camera, so we can have virtual meetings and do trainings that way. Prior to COVID, I had a once-a-month managers meeting at this office. But, with anything, COVID has made everybody go virtual. And it's going back to in-person is not even thought about. People can't even fathom it. They don't understand, well, we can just do this virtually,
So quick question before we move on. So, yes, COVID did introduce, virtual meetings and all that. But in your opinion, when you can be in person, if this podcast was done virtually, would it have been as enjoyable for you as it is now doing it in person?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
So, and that's what I've said. There's some meetings that can be virtual, and I think that should be virtual. And for those meetings, technology is fantastic. And then there's some that just can't be, because the thing with the virtual meeting is you're never just in a virtual meeting. You've got a virtual meeting playing in the background, and you're still doing your job. And if you're working from home, you're doing laundry, you're cleaning while you're listening to your virtual meeting. Versus if I'm sitting in a training room, I can't be doing laundry and I can't be doing other work. I got to be sitting there doing that training. And so it's not as effective as far as a training tool. I just don't believe it is. But as far as like meetings, if you just need to meet and go over a few things, it can be very effective, because sometimes in-person meetings, people want to talk too much, and people seem not to talk as much on a virtual meeting.
I don't talk on virtual meetings unless I'm the one holding it.
So they can be a lot more efficient, and you can get things done on your agenda versus, it being in person. So, I go back and forth. As far as what I think my team leaders need, our inventory, menu planning, everything is on the computer. So our team meetings can provide a lot of training in there. But I also think just being together as a team a few times a year is also very important. So, we have a beginning of the year training, and to not be in another room together until the next year, I don't think is good. I think there's got to be some kind of pull us back together, few team meetings in between, pull us back together, a few team meetings in between.
Yeah, so being in person helps create more rapport among the team. You just get to know each other, and people are more willing to get involved, like you said, if they're in an in-person meeting.
And they're more interactive.
More interactive.
I get no questions on Teams meetings.
Yeah.
And then in here, they're like,
everybody has something to say, which is actually what we want.
Everybody has something. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll be like, no questions? Everybody's understanding this?
Crickets.
And they're all just sitting there.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So back to your supervisors being in schools, really running. You said your team leaders have to be on the floor, right? So it puts a strain on your supervisors because they're really doing more of the team leader's job behind the scenes, right?
Well, really more of our team members. They're coming in and acting as a team member when they're short-staffed. Or if a team leader is out, then yes, they're doing both. And then they're also having to work with their other schools. And, we're so large, we're able to pull inventory from each other. So if we're shorted something or somebody forgets something, we don't have to just rearrange the menu for that school. We can, most likely, out of the other 39 schools, we can pull together inventory to make it work. And so they move inventory too. And so they're really busy. They stay really busy. And of course the beginning of the year is always very busy, and then it calms down and they're able to get more things done. And the way our state purchasing works and how we're kind of in the Stone Ages, so while we have gone on the cloud for orders and stuff, most school districts who operate outside of Mississippi, in their, software could hit approve and export their order. Well, we have to manually key it into MDEs. And so I've gotten my managers, my team leaders, doing that over the past year, but my area supervisors still review their orders and kind of make sure. And so that's kind of another step of extra that we have to do here in Mississippi because of that purchasing program that other people don't have to do just because we're working in two different softwares.
Yeah, I got you. So tell me why you call your managers team leaders. Why was that important to you?
Well, I wanted their name to reflect what I thought of them. And, the State Department still refers to them as managers, but, it was like we had a manager and a cafeteria worker. That was our job description names. And I was just like, we are more than a manager and a cafeteria worker. Like, child nutrition is more than that. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was just like, we're a team, My first year's director, we got a new superintendent, and one of his, well, I guess it is his main hashtag is Team DCS. And so I kind of spun it off that and was just like, we have team members, and that is our force. That is our frontline force. Without them, this whole operation would not work. They're more than just a cafeteria worker.
Exactly. Put some respect on their names.
Yes, exactly. And, I did learn, like, shortly after changing their name, that Chick-fil-A uses the term team in that's what they call some of their positions. They use the term, like, team manager, team supervisor, team, I don't really know all their names, but we had a Chick-fil-A person come speak to us at a conference, and that's what they were saying. And I was like, oh, I just changed on mine to that.
So, you had Chick-fil-A come and speak to your team, right? Was that just because you were trying to inspire your team as far as like in leadership and that sort of thing? Or is it more because you wanted your team to understand that, hey, Chick-fil-A is a restaurant and we also have restaurants here, and maybe we should operate similar to how a restaurant like Chick-fil-A operates?
Kind of both.
Yeah.
Both. So when I reached out to Chick-fil-A and had them come speak this year, I wanted her to talk about leadership, but also just customer service. Because I think in the job on a daily basis, I have some of the best staff in the world. It's just the monotony of the job we sometimes forget, not only with the customers that we're serving, but with the people that we're working with. That everybody has this life outside of this day at work that we know nothing about. We don't know what's happened. We don't know anything about it a lot of times, or what they may be going through, and how we treat them during that day affects that. It affects them going home. It affects, their mood the next day. It makes a huge impact. And, let's just take a student that comes in and they left a, very abusive home that morning. And then they come through the lunch line, and, everybody relates food to comfort. So where they feel comfort and the cashier yells at them because they don't have money, or yells at them because they didn't take a fruit or a vegetable, or just looks at them with a, disgruntled look of annoyance, then that's going to give that child the same sense that they left their house with. So now they don't feel safe at home, and they don't feel safe at school, and they don't feel safe with food, which is supposed to be the comfort, which is the heart of everything.
Yes, it is.
You can win anybody over with food.
Yes, you can.
So, just...
But apparently not bean tacos.
Not bean tacos. Oh, my other story was fish tacos.
Nope.
Did a fish taco. And and it wasn't just children. Like, I had teachers being like, what is a fish taco? And
really?
I was like, what? A fish taco?
Yeah. Fish tacos are good.
I know. And it was such a funny story. I've never tried it again because it was just that bad. And I was like, golly, I will never be able to do this again. And they were really good. They were really good. But it was just, people just didn't know what it was. And they thought it was the weirdest thing that fish was inside a tortilla shell.
Yeah. But I bet you if you go to Florida with that, you go to any coast, people love fish tacos. Yeah. So it's funny how every district is different.
Well, from one side of this county to the other.
Yeah.
Look, I grew up in Panola County, and the only fruit that I can truly remember eating as a child is half of a pear with mayonnaise and shredded cheese on it.
Wait, hold on a second. Do you say you put mayonnaise on a pear with shredded cheese?
Yes, it was called a pear salad. It was at every church event, every family reunion, every picnic. Somebody had pear salad, and it was a half a pear with a dollop of mayonnaise, and it had cheddar, shredded cheese on top. Sometimes people would put a cherry on top. Yes, and grew up on that, and did that one time, and everybody was like, mayonnaise on a pear.
Yeah, that sounds pretty
and I'm
gross
just
to
like,
me. But
why? We're all from North Mississippi. Did we not all eat the same as a child?
that is the craziest combination of food I've ever heard of. But I want to try it though.
Pear salad.
I want to try it.
So it's like that sweet and salty.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it could work, but it just sounds so strange.
Yeah. But don't do it. Don't feed it to children.
I guess
I
not.
mean, I was the pickiest eater. I ate macaroni and cheese, maple brown sugar oatmeal, and pear salad, obviously.
Pear salad. That's
That
like
was
my
all
son.
McDonald's chicken nuggets. That was it. That was all I ate as a child.
Yeah, for the longest, all my son Kingston ever wanted to eat was hot dogs. Like, that's all he would eat. Breakfast,
Does he
lunch,
eat the
and
bread,
dinner
though?
was hot dog. Yeah. Oh, but not the crust. So if we're out of hot dog buns, we give him like a piece of bread with the hot dog, he'll peel off the crust and he'll eat the hot dog. But God forbid he eats the crust of something. It's horrible.
That's all kids.
Yeah.
You know, I can remember as a child being told that you had to eat the crust if you ever wanted to learn how to whistle. So that's what I told my kids. I still tell my kids that.
Are you serious?
I don't know.
Is that another Mississippi thing?
I was like, no, maybe just a Panola County thing like the pear salad. I don't know. But yeah, it was like if you didn't eat the crust of your bread, you wouldn't learn how to whistle. So I still tell my
Whistling
kids
is important.
So my youngest, she doesn't care, obviously. She's like, I'll figure out a way to whistle without this crust. But my oldest, I still will use a sandwich cutter. But she's like, leave the crust. So she eats her sandwich without the crust, and then she eats the crust by itself now. Like, you know.
Because she wants to learn how to
I
whistle.
don't know if it's because, if it's because she wants to learn how to whistle or, you know, it's just from eating the crust and then trying to introduce the crust back. She's like, I still want my crustless sandwich, but I'll eat this crust.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
So I try to like push a lot of peanut butter and jelly on the outside so like the crust still has some flavor in it.
Oh, that's so funny. All right, so back to Chick-fil-A. So it went well. Everybody loved having them come in. They learned a lot.
You know, I mean, they always just show they always have great stories. I mean, golly. I mean, there's so much people that work for Chick-fil-A, and obviously it's a nationwide thing. So people post about it, and, you know, they have so much feedback, and they're always able to kind of touch your heart a little bit with their stories. And that gives a lot of motivation. You know, it reminds people, and they did a great job of reminding people, you know, that you don't know the situation everybody's in. And, you know, showing up and giving the smallest thing is a smile can make the world of difference to somebody.
Could change a kid's whole day. Just smiling at them, going through the lunch line. What also blows my mind is, I know I've said this before, like, I can't believe how many team leaders I meet or team members I meet in these different cafeterias or restaurants or whatever they want to call them that know every child's name as they come through the line. It blows my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I was first hired here, I remember Cynthia, she would be able to call out employees' names, you know, and I'm sitting over here and I couldn't even remember all 39 schools' names at the time. And
that's
I'm
crazy.
like, but after 2 years of being director, I was very amazed at how many names that I knew. And so I get it, working in it, you know, because they see those kids' faces every day.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're part of their lives.
They're part of their life. They are. And so, you know, after a while, they remember a lot of their names.
Yeah.
And, you know, and talking about customer service, too, I do want to add, I don't get a lot of customer service complaints. You know, I don't get a lot of calls that my staff is mean, you know, and a situation here and then, obviously 40 schools, 250 plus employees, you know, everybody can't be perfect.
Yeah, you can't please everybody.
But, you know, I would say as far as overall, you know, that we really go above and beyond. And my staff loves their job. My team leaders love their jobs. And you can tell, you know, that in the way that they lead their kitchens.
That's great. So tell me about something you're excited for this upcoming school year. And wait, are you back in school yet? When do you start?
Yes. So we started August 3rd. It was a Thursday.
Okay. How did it
So
go?
we never start on a Monday.
Yeah, my kid started on a Thursday, which is kind of weird to me.
Yeah,
but
so
whatever.
we always start at the end of the week. I asked the first time we did it, and they were like, well, it gives you 2 days, and then it gives you 2 extra days over the weekend to, like, correct any issues before Monday starts. Versus if you start on Monday, like, you don't have time to correct anything because you still got 4 more days to go before the weekend. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. It really has been great. We've had a great startup besides just being short-staffed at some schools. So if you're listening to this and you live in Memphis, North Mississippi area, and you want to come work for DeSoto County School District, we are hiring.
There you go.
Yeah, start at like $12.46, I think, an hour. You can bring up to 5 years of outside experience Or if you've worked in a cafeteria, you can bring all that experience.
Are you hiring for team managers, team members, team leaders, or
Team
members?
members. So we do a lot of times like to promote from within as far as moving from a team member to a team leader. I don't know if that's always the right decision, but, at least moving from a team member to a team leader, you've walked in those shoes, and coming from the outside in, that was a huge, battle that I think I still probably face. I'm in my 9th year, is that I've never walked in their shoes.
Mm.
And there's a level of respect, and I don't want that to have to be a something that my team leaders have to worry about earning, because I put them in a position like that.
Yeah.
And so we have a bunch of talent, a bunch of very intelligent, people in our district, team members, that I feel I would rather give the opportunity to promote within and move up in their leadership than to pull from the outside.
Totally respect and understand that. I agree 1,000,000%.
So
yeah. So what are you excited for this upcoming school year? Is it the big POS change, the technology change?
Not
or are
excited
you
about
dreading
that. Not excited about that. I'm excited because I love technology. I'm a nerd like that. And I think we're going to be able to do a lot more things with it. But, it's just the training, the training and the curveball, of just getting everybody over that hump. And, when you say change, there is 50% automatic negativity,
Until they
probably
start
more.
using it, and
Yeah.
then they fall in love with it.
And we just changed menu planning inventory software. Last year was our first year. We used Titan. And the only reason I won them over so fast in that is because of the production record. Because in Mississippi, the Mississippi Department of Education sends us a production book, AKA Red Book, and you have to write down everything. So you have to write down every recipe, every ingredient. And so it's a lot of just before you can even do the work in it, you have to write it all down. And with production records that are on the computer that pull straight from your menu and your recipes, you don't have to, all you do is basically have to put what you served, what you planned, and what you served, and what you had left over. And so that won them over real fast.
So Titan went well.
Yes.
Good.
And there's only one issue I have with Titan, and it's I won't discuss it on here because it's really, because it's to be honest, it's a stupid issue.
Yeah.
For the software that they have is so amazing and the capabilities of it, and you can't print a 1-page menu.
Yeah, it does seem like something that should be able to be done.
So the production record, if you go online to look at a school's menu, it reads straight from their production record, which is awesome because, if I have to swap days or change up items, my school, if they go to their school and look, it'll show if the team leader has updated their production record. But the thing that I can't do from that screen is print a 1-page menu.
All right, so and if you're out there listening, Link, pay attention. Great job at DeSoto, but let's get some 1-page production records being able to be printed.
Yes, so we have already been in that conversation this year, and so I feel like they will move towards it eventually.
But you know what? It's important that you said it because I'm sure there are other people out there that probably want a 1-page production record to be printed. And when they hear this, maybe they'll speak up too, and maybe you'll actually get what you want. Yeah. So I used to work for a software company. I've also been a Tony in my previous district. So there's a ton of great software out there, and nothing is perfect. But what I've come to realize in being their customer and actually being on the semi-industry side now is they all just want to help. So whenever people out there need a solution, you got to tell these techie people because they want to provide it. Now, when they're going to provide it and how quickly and how it's going to look, that's kind of up to them. But they all genuinely, from what I've seen, they want to help.
Yeah. Well, and I think the people like you and Tony that are working in the software, you're absolutely right. But then I think there's this big person at the very top that really is the boss, but really is probably never operated the software, of how it's supposed to be utilized. And the one thing with Titan is Link buying it out. And they also bought School Nutrition and Fitness.
Yeah.
Well, Guess what you can print? Where you can print a one-page menu from?
On SNAF, really?
School Nutrition and Fitness. But guess what you got to have to do it?
Yeah.
You got to have 2 different software.
Yeah.
And that's just ridiculous. You know, it's ridiculous.
I'm assuming that they're probably working on something.
So, they've already know how I feel about it.
Now the whole world knows how you feel about it. Now they better do it.
I know. So anyway, I have to type up a one-page menu in Excel and make it a PDF to post on my website so my parents are happy. And then obviously if things change at a school, those changes aren't reflected. And that, you know, that was a huge reason for choosing Titan too. So it's it's frustrating because I loved how production records were real-time menus. That was like a selling point. Mm-hmm. And I never thought asking, well, can this thing print on one page? was like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, this software can do everything that you want it to do except print a one-page menu. Like, I mean, it's like, come on.
So have you looked at actual, like, web menu solutions? I know there's a few out there. So, like, how SNAF used to be. Well, there's other companies out there that do something very similar that may be a solution. I don't know.
Well, yes, I think there's a solution for a price. You know, mm-hmm. I just can't, like, School Nutrition and Fitness can offer my solution, but I'm trying to think. I mean, the price they gave that it was going to cost me was absolutely outrageous.
Really?
Just to be able to print a one-page menu. I can't. Mm-hmm. I could buy 4 ovens
for the same price as
I
getting a one-page menu.
I can type a menu up.
Yeah. Look at you using your money responsibly.
You know,
there
I'm
you
just
go.
like, no. I mean, so I just do the one-page menu and make it pretty for parents to post on their refrigerator. And I just encourage and even put a statement on the menu that says, please check the online menu daily, just to make sure that the menu hasn't changed. But, this is what's planned. And so that's how we kind of have to do it. But,
well, I'm not going to say any names, but I'm sure there's some companies out there listening to this that could probably provide you a solution for a fair price. Titan or someone else.
I'll know when the podcast has been released because all of a sudden I'll start getting emails like, are you seeking this?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's one thing I love about networking is, in this everyday operation and business, I mean, we get hounded with emails, but that's not where I'm going to find my solution. Me and a coworker, she's a director on the coast. We're talking on the way to ANC, and before ANC, you get hammered. Come see us in booth so and so, and it's just like, stop sending me emails. I know what booth you're in. Like you're cluttering my inbox. And that's what we just wanted to scream to everybody. Like, don't send those emails. If anything, like, that frustrates me. Like, if I get 5 emails from you, I may not come see you because, I'm going to walk around the whole exhibit floor. Like, I'm going to see you.
Yeah.
I don't need an email.
So for all the people out there, or explain to everybody out there what ANC is, because there are going to be some people listening to this that aren't in our world in school nutrition.
So ANC is the School Nutrition Association's annual conference that they have every July. So it's one of the 4 conferences that the School Nutrition Association has, and it's the largest conference. So it is filled with education sessions, and a huge part of it is the exhibit floor. So 2 days of exhibit floor where all child nutrition industry, and anybody that has anything to do with child nutrition or wants to get their foot in the door with child nutrition or thinks that they can service the school in any form or fashion can come and set up a booth. And it's like any kind of food show or trade show. You just get to walk around and see new food items, see new equipment, see new software. You get to a lot of times play with the software, so you try before you buy, kind of. But the biggest thing is meeting people from across the country.
And I have to ask you, what's the best opportunity for networking at ANC? I mean, there may be a couple parties out there, but which is the one where you do a lot of networking?
There was this party this year. I think it was called Ignite. I can't really remember.
Really?
Maybe.
Ignite kind of sounds familiar.
I mean, I don't know.
It sounds
I
fun.
don't know. Yeah, I mean, it was okay.
Tell me how you really feel.
You know, everybody, you know, it's all the parties are great because
they
the
are.
same people show up to them all. And it's what I say, like, child nutrition is the one, like, job area that across the country, everybody is just like Southern hospitality. It's like,
Mhm.
if you're not a Southerner at heart, like, but it's somewhere within you, like, you go into food service because
Exactly.
like that's where I mean child nutrition, because like you know, that's just how it feels. It feels like home to people like me when I meet people from across the country in child nutrition. And I don't know, I just love everybody. I mean, I do. Like, you know, getting opportunities to go to other outside trainings and getting to meet people. And they become like your friends, and you know, you like each other on social media, and the next thing you know, a year later, you know all about each other. And you know, when I go to conference where I used to just only recognize 5 faces, I recognize over 100 faces, you know, of people that I know. And it's kind of like what you said, like, how do people remember names? But you do, you know, because you've had some kind of experience with them, or
And you probably remember everybody's name from Ignite, right? So shameless plug, Ignite is my event, or my company's event.
everybody. I remember everybody I met from
Everybody's
that
name
night.
at Ignite. That's
And what they
hilarious.
wore.
Yeah. But you know what? It's funny because I feel like most people in our industry, they get to know each other through social media, right? And that's how they get to start building that relationship. And then when you meet someone in person, like, oh my gosh, like, I've been following you, you're doing great, this is awesome. Like, let's be friends in real life now.
Yeah.
But we met differently, didn't we?
Did.
We
We did. We did.
You want to talk about that?
Well, we met at one of the School Nutrition Association conferences, not an event hosted by the School Nutrition
Yeah, we were
Association, but we were at LAC, in
which
Washington.
is in DC, and Lincoln Yee and a couple of others were throwing a party from International Food Solution, and it was it gangster themed, or was it like 70s themed?
I really have no idea, because it was really...
Because you crashed the party.
Well, yes. So we totally crashed the party, and it was all Valerie's idea. So Valerie is a director also from Mississippi. She was supposed to be on this podcast.
Mm-hmm. Next time,
Val. We'll see. Yeah. So she's the director in Lee County. But she was like, hey, let's go to this speakeasy and crash this party. I want to go see this speakeasy. And I'm over here like, what the heck is a speakeasy? And so we just follow Val, get in the Uber, and like we get out, and I'm like, Valerie, this is like,
it was like an ice cream shop or like a deli or something like that.
It was a deli. And we go in, and we were like, hey, and they were like, can we help you?
What's the password?
And Valerie's like, oh, gosh, I forgot. We've got to like order something specific to get in. And like, I think she was like pulling out her phone, and I can't even remember what we had to order to get in, but it was comical. And so anyway, what I thought was a walk-in freezer, the door opens and you walk in, and it's just like this awesome lounge, and there's music playing, and you know, I mean, wherever music is, I travel, you know, and so that was where I met a lot of friends that night.
Exactly. And I have to say, like, that is probably one of the best parties I've been to at any conference. Like, ANC has some really big parties. Like, SNA did a fantastic job with Premier Edge throwing their 80s party at this past ANC. But something about Lincoln's party at that LAC was truly epic.
Well, the speakeasy was fun. I mean, it was just fun. And then it was like not too large, but enough, you know. And that's what I say too. A lot of times when parties are at too big of places, it's harder. Like, I almost rather be shoved into a tighter space, because it forces camaraderie. You know, it forces conversations. It forces you to meet people. It's like when you're in tighter spaces, you feel, I don't know, it almost feels more fun.
I love that feedback, and I agree. So at Ignite, as you know, we had 3 different spaces, right?
Yes.
So we had Mile High Station, which was like the main area, and then we had our outdoor space, which we had the Cool Trends booths, and we had like Daring and And Deeply Rooted was there, National Food Group, Buena Vista, and JTM, and they were showing off trending products. And we had like an outdoor play space and a bunch of stuff out there, right? But then we had another room called Ironworks that Fork Farms actually was running, but it was just too many spaces.
Yes.
And it,
So I showed up and I didn't know where to go.
yeah, and like talking to the team afterwards, I was like, look, guys, like Ignite was an amazing success. You had over 1,000 people there, went off without a hitch. Great job. But next year, let's go back to how we did it the previous year, where we're all in one space, because there were times, especially towards the end of the night, where everybody was in Ironworks, because over there, Fork Farms and us put together Silent Disco, which was a ton of fun, and then line dancing. People just stayed there and hung out, right? So it was like that building was packed, but I feel like that should have, I don't know, like there should have been more everybody together in one space, like you said.
You want everybody circled around the same entertainment.
Exactly. Yes.
You know,
but then again, that was me trying to be a people pleaser, like wanting something for everybody, like this type of music over there and this type of music over here, or no music in the middle. And I'm trying to please everybody, but what do we all know? You can't please everybody all the time.
I know. I'm like that too. It is a huge downfall of mine. Is I'm just like, and I think it's because I do it in a sense, which is so out of my personality, by the way. Like, you wouldn't think that I was a people pleaser. And there's areas in my life I'm not. But when it comes to this job and my staff, I think I sway towards that because I want them to know that I'm listening. And you know, when you're behind the scenes, like in a director's role, it's hard for them to know because they don't understand all the moving parts. You know, they don't understand the regulations, the procurement, you know, and so they may voice things and you may try to explain it and then things don't change the way that they want. And it may be because it can't really change. And so anytime that I can like do something that makes them think that I'm listening, that shows them that I heard you, I do. But even though sometimes in my head I know that like this is not going to be the best idea, or I probably shouldn't do this, or you know, but it's just that I want them to know that I am listening.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes that's the only way you feel like that's the only way that you can make them understand that, you know, is by people pleasing.
Yeah, but people pleasing can just cause more problems with your people.
It does.
Which I'm learning from from my own personal experiences being a young entrepreneur.
Yes. I'll tell you, because I did come in here so inexperienced, the one thing that I did and I've kind of stayed, you know, I've loosened a little, but I'm a very black and white person. And when it comes to this job, I think USDA is very black and white. You know, everything they give to us is in literally black and white. You know, it is a regulation in writing. And so it makes that side of it like, okay, well, this is it. And so I built policies and procedures based on that. And
Can you build some for me too?
like, I can give you mine and you can kind of work off of it. So I have a whole, you know, handbook and a team leader manual in black and white for that reason. And I go back to that, you know, circumstances. I had a graduate professor when I was in grad school. It was when my husband was getting out of the Marine Corps. So it was his like ending ceremony. And of course it was in the middle of the week. And we had a project due that I had to do, like, I had to present it, like, and immediately when she gave us the date, I was like, I'm going to be in North Carolina. And she was like, well, you'll just get a 0 on presentation. And I was like, are you kidding me? And she was like, I mean, part of is presenting. And I was like, well, can I present it another day? Anyway, we ended up working something out. But, you know, the one thing she looked at me and she was like, it's not my job to say your event is more important than somebody else's. Like, I understand. She had a son that was in the military, and she was like, I understand that that's very important. She was like, but that's important to you. Somebody's best friend could be getting married, and that's important to them. And somebody could have a friend coming into town that they hadn't seen in over a decade, and that's important to them. Like, and it's not my job to say, well, yours is not important enough to miss, but yours is. You know, so I have to handle everything the same. And I would say that's kind of, I've brought that same philosophy in here because, you know, people have sick kids, they don't have help, and we will work with you. You know, I pour into communicate. If you communicate with us and let us know so we can plan. But at the same time, too, at some point in time, their absence becomes a burden. And so then I have to start looking at their coworkers and saying, I'm here for you. I understand things happen, but now this has become a burden on the other 5 people in the kitchen, and I have to be their advocate too. And so we have a black and white policy, and when that happens, we follow it. And we can sit here and say, we walked through all the steps with you. We have encouraged you. We have tried to help you. We have done everything, but we have reached this point, and I'm sorry, but we're going to have to let you go due to attendance or whatever it may be. And it really helps, because nobody wants to be the bad guy. But when you have a rule that you can say, look, you knew this rule, here it is, I'm sorry, it gives you a backbone. And then it kind of like takes that edge off where I can't feel it. It's not like I threw something at them that they didn't already know. And I'm like that, I'm like that with my job. I want people to present me with black and white. You tell me I can't do something and I think I can, because here's the thing, I'm not going to ask before I do the research. I'm not one of those that just goes after something without having some good knowledge before I go. So then when you turn around and you tell me that I can't do it for A, B, and C, well, show me why I can't do it, because what I've shown myself is that I can do it. So I'm going to need you to show me why I can't do it. So I'll have an understanding.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to you there. I hate being told no to something that should be a yes. Especially when I can make it a yes. But where I struggle is the whole like black and white thing, because once again, I'm always worried about pleasing people. And some things I'm learning just need to be black and white. Like, it's not about like how you feel about the situation. This is how it is, and this is why I feel like you should be on board. Let me now inspire you to be on the same page, right? Yeah. But yeah, totally get it.
Yeah, and expectations. Like if you can get it in black and white and present your expectations, then it's like that from the beginning. I will say, you met my assistant director, Marla, and when she came into child nutrition, we like hit it off, like our personalities right from the get-go. But we're really different, though. We're really different. But why is because we could be 100% honest with each other, but then still be fine with no feelings, like it wasn't personal, it was work. And then we still could have our personal relationship, and that was huge.
That's tough to find. So congrats.
It's tough to find. Yes, and it's huge. I mean, to this day, like we are 100% honest with each other, and we will argue, but then it'll be like, "Hey, I'm going to get lunch. You want anything?" And like we're fine. And there's a lot of people that they just can't do that. They get all in their feelings and they take it personally, and they don't look at the big picture and like, this is work, and she's not telling me this because she's mad at me. She's telling me this because in her mind, this is what she thinks is best for our department.
Yeah, you got to have shared values.
Yep. And you've got to respect other people's perspectives, because your perspective is only one, and as great as my mind may be, I'm not going to see all sides of it, just, from life. Your experiences build your, perceptions, and everybody's perception is different, and you need people to show you other people's views, so then you can make, especially that's huge in management, managing people is just trying to understand everybody, even though you may not agree with it, trying to figure out where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. So I know I derailed my initial question to you about what you're excited about for the upcoming year.
Oh, gosh, yes.
So real quick, tell me that.
Lots of things if I can get them through. So I mentioned state purchasing, that we have a state purchasing program. So for the first time, I'm trying to do a supplemental bid, which if everything goes through, I'll be able to bring some awesome items to my students. So I'm very excited about that. With the possibility of maybe going off state purchasing in the future. It's like I said, my district is different from one side to the other. Being on a state purchasing bid, we're all different. And we're kind of held down to being able to add new items when we want, or even just try new things because of the contract that we're under. And my county is big enough that I can do a bid separate from the state and still probably get the same pricing, or decently close. And I think I've got the knowledge behind me now, and understanding of it enough to take that leap. So I'm excited about that. And then looking at partnering with the local farm to bring some grass-fed, pasture-raised, so grass-fed beef, pasture-raised pork, no antibiotics, sausage, and beef patties to the school district as part of our farm-to-school program. And so I'm excited about that. Let's see. Those are really my two big things. Oh, announcement.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
I'll be posting a job opening.
Okay, for what?
I am wanting to hire an RD. So when I was hired for the school district and then got director, I never replaced me. Mm. And so, but I would like this person to have some culinary, a little bit of culinary background, because I have gotten to the point that I do all the menu planning, oversee procurement, and I'm the director. And I've got so many ideas and so many things that I want to do, but I just don't have the time to do it. And
welcome to my world.
Yes. And so I need somebody that I can feed all that to, that can make it happen, and really get out. And like I told you, what my supervisors kind of are forced to do in a sense. So this person's job would solely be dedicated to menu planning, with allergies, working with, all the team leaders and, getting menus and items together for those kids that have allergies and any parents. And then also recipe development and then training. I'm all about working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And I forget that I have the knowledge of 40 schools, but the team leaders that I put in these positions don't have the knowledge of 40 schools. They may only have had an experience of 1 to 2 schools in their career. Mm-hmm. And so being able to take that knowledge and push it down to each cafeteria and really work with them, because while they're all the same, they're all different. And you really have to work in that kitchen and with those people, and however their lunch schedule is and however their kitchen is set up and however, to really help them. Yeah. It's not like a one mold fits all. So I'm excited about that. I'm tweaking the job description a little bit. And of course, because the job hasn't been filled in 8 years, I've got to update the pay scale to it. And so all that's got to be board approved. And so once that happens, I will post the job. And so I will be really looking exciting for that. Hopefully maybe posted around October, November.
All right, everybody out there, October, November, keep your eyes
come
open.
Work for me. Whoop, whoop.
Who wouldn't want to work for you? I mean, we've been friends for, only I guess technically 2 months, 2-3 months, something like that. I move fast. But just sitting here today and listening to more of your story and seeing what you're doing here, it's inspirational. I can't imagine why anybody wouldn't want to come be a part of this team, because you're doing some really cool things. You believe in your team, you're innovative, you're moving forward, and you're bringing this team with you. And it's impressive. It's really impressive. And I love seeing young directors step up and lead the way that you have.
30-year-old directors.
Hey, we're still young. But yes, 30-year-old directors. I was trying to score some brownie points there. But no, I'm just friend to friend. I'm proud of you to see what you've done. And you're killing it. Keep doing it. And thank you so much for just taking this random podcast on a whim and chatting with me and allowing me to share your story, because it's truly been an honor.
Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for having me.
Anytime. Till next time.